And good Friday morning. You're listening to WGRG 100.5 FM in Geneseo. And it's Let's Talk Geneseo for this Friday morning, December 15th. And I'm your host, Keith Kennett, along with, as per usual, Brandon Meglin, City Administrator. Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Recovering from Christmas walk.
You know, that worked out and turned out very well. And, quite an event in Geneseo. We were, Zach shared some photography and stuff from the event. And he had a really interesting drone shot, I think, courtesy of the Henry County Sheriff's Department during the lighted parade.
Yes.
And it was kind of a sea of humanity.
Yeah.
Along the parade route. But it was a really cool shot, but gave some perspective, too, of just one of the rare times that the population or not inhabitants, but the number of people in the city probably almost doubled our normal population.
Yeah, I think the chamber estimated close to 10,000 people were in attendance throughout the entire day downtown. And I asked the PD if they could contact Henry County for me, see if we can get our hands on that drone shot, because I think it'd be neat to blow up and put in City Hall. Yeah,
I agree. Or put it up on the webpage, or maybe the chamber's already done it. I don't know, but it would be neat to share. But anyway, we start off the program today, though. Tim, you can come in if you... No? Okay. We actually have...
Got an audience.
Yeah, just pull up a chair. You're fine.
Yeah. But Tim Steines he's peeking in from the doorway here. He's the school resource officer for the Geneseo High School, Geneseo police officer. Mm-hmm. He's going to join us as an audience member in the studio today.
I think they had some complaints, so they had to bring in the officer here just to make sure everything's on the up and up in here, which it is as much as we can be. But anyway, Brandon, why don't you maybe start us off here and share who our guests are for this morning?
Yes, so today we are joined by Kelly Sullivan. He's a police officer with the Geneseo Police Department, and as well as Andy Thurman in the studio. He's the executive director for the Geneseo Park District. So we've got a few things we want to dive into with both of these guys today. You may say the theme is recreation. Sullivan is going to talk a little bit about, we get a lot of questions on cannabis laws. You know, the laws changed a few years back. A lot of questions still come in, though, and how that exactly works. What can you do? What can't you do? What can your neighbors do? Those questions are common. And then, of course, with Andy, recreation is the name of the game for the Park District, and they do all things recreation in the community. So we'll start with Kelly. Let's just jump right in. I mean, what changed with the cannabis laws in Illinois? How does that impact Geneseo? What are kind of the ins and outs of what you can and can't do right now?
Sure. It's legal now. Everybody's allowed a certain amount. You're allowed to possess 30 grams of cannabis flower, 5 grams of cannabis concentrate, so that would be like a vape or something like that, and 500 milligrams of cannabis-infused product, which would be like your gummies or things like that. The only exemption would be there's a medical exemption. People on a medical exemption are allowed to own 5 plants, so they can grow their own at home, too. Of course, the 2 places in the state of Illinois you're allowed to use cannabis is in your house and in your backyard. Anywhere else, it could be a violation still.
I think that's important, and probably one of the top questions that comes in is, is this just, can you do it anywhere? I mean, that's not the case. I mean, you can't just be walking the street in Geneseo and have this stuff out in the open, right?
Correct. I mean, you kind of treat it like alcohol. You wouldn't drive down the road drinking a beer, so you wouldn't smoke a joint, too. So.
Yeah. Okay. What else can you tell us?
Well, it is still illegal in some ways. When you buy it from the dispensary, it has to stay in its package till you get it home. If we find it out, or if you have it loose, the violations. If you have less than 10 grams, it's just a civil violation. There's a fee, and it can be taken off of your record after a certain amount of time. If you have between 10 and 30 grams, it's a Class B misdemeanor, which is still, the potential up to 6 months in jail for it. Anywhere from 30 to 100 grams is a Class A misdemeanor, which is you could get up to a year in jail for that. If you have over 100 grams, it becomes a felony. So it is still illegal in some ways. And then as far as like manufacturing, delivering it, if you're selling it, less than 2.5 grams is a Class B misdemeanor. 2.5 to 10 grams is a Class A misdemeanor, and 10 to 30 becomes a felony. So, like I said, it still is illegal in some ways.
Yeah, and it's still illegal federally.
Yeah.
I know, from a city standpoint and a HR standpoint, there's certain professions, right, that still can't use it. I mean, federal employees, a lot of our city staff members hold CDL licenses.
Correct.
So they can't use it at all.
Correct.
I mean, it's still completely legal for police officers too, right?
Right. Yeah. We're anybody who's funded by the federal government you're still not allowed to use it. Which is the other thing. It's not legal in Iowa, so don't take it across state lines because you can tell them all day long that you bought it in Illinois and they're not going to care.
Yeah. Yep. What about? I think one of the other common questions is driving. Driving on cannabis.
Well, it's a DUI-able offense. We've got tests just like we do for alcohol, standardized field sobriety test that we'd put you through, and to get, and then we'd have to get a blood sample instead of a breath sample like you do for alcohol. So, but it is still it's the same penalty as driving under the influence of alcohol.
Nice.
And from an enforcement standpoint, I mean, you just kind of, there's all these variables with it insofar as when would it be legal, when isn't it, and what have you. And we've had this now 2 years, roughly,
20
longer.
January 1st, 2020, it became legal.
Okay. So do we see it in a practical sense, I guess, from a violation standpoint or what have you? Is this something that we kind of do deal with somewhat regularly in town, or is it pretty rare that you have some sort of an issue related to it?
It's not something that we see a ton of, and I was a little bit surprised. I thought we were going to see a lot more of it with it being legalized. The vapes, we see a lot of those, and that's hard to tell. It's hard to determine the difference between a nicotine vape and a cannabis vape. So, but really, it hasn't been that big of an issue. I don't even know that we as a police department have gotten a cannabis DUI since it became legal. Maybe one or two, but it's not something we get a lot of.
Yeah, and that was a thought I think probably a lot of people had, is that, I think the just the impaired driving aspect of it, do we need to, it seems we have enough things to either distract us as we're driving or what have you. Now we added kind of one more into the mix.
Sure.
But that there is a test, or there's some way that you guys are looking for that and able to identify it and address it as needed.
Yep. Yeah, the state's, or not the state, but the National Highway, they're working on standardizing the tests so that it's just like alcohol. So,
yeah, and Kelly is well trained on this. He actually does our training for city employees. Anybody in a supervisory role, we have to do, or we do choose to do, what we call a reasonable suspicion spotting every year for supervisors to be on the lookout for any employees that would come to work impaired on alcohol or drugs. It's something important for everybody to be up on and know what to look for so that everybody can stay safe out there in the workplace. So I guess, on the same thing, Kelly, I don't know if you can talk to us, beyond cannabis. What are the issues with drugs that we see in Henry County and the community? Can you give us some insight into that? And what can people do if they have a family member or a friend who may need assistance with some of this?
Well, I wouldn't say here in Geneseo that we have any, outstanding problems. Drugs are everywhere. If you do have a family member who's experiencing some kind of problem, you can always come to the police department. We're always happy to help. We'll take people wherever they need to go, to get help. Typically, we take people to Robert Young and Rock Island, and they've got great programs there. So we're always happy to help. So it's not about just busting people. We want people to be able to live their best lives. So anything we can do to help, we're always happy to.
Yeah. Nice. Any other questions for Mr. Sullivan?
No,
Tim, you're welcome to jump in here too if you got any input on the.
Well, and it's just kind of good. I'm glad we're actually having a conversation on this because I'm learning some things, also. But yeah, it is for. It's one of those things that you probably would think back 10, 15 years or so ago that that we wouldn't be legalizing some of these things and what have you. But now we just kind of find ourselves, as it seems with many things, kind of you're dealing with stuff that you never thought you would be. But it's good to kind of hear in the real world aspect of it, though, of just how much it's affecting or not affecting things in our community and regionally. But I think what Kelly just said, though, is and it kind of speaks just to the police department in that it's about serving the community and helping the community and stuff too. And that you might be thinking, well, gee, maybe if I have somebody that is struggling with drugs or have some sort of an addiction issue or what have you, I'm not going to walk into the police department and ask for some help and stuff. But seriously, here you would want to do that. Because it generally would steer you in a direction to, because recognizing there's a greater purpose here, and is to try to help someone that's dealing with a struggle. So yeah, use that very much as a resource, because it. And we even have a network in town beyond that there's just a lot of people that would want to help you if you're in that situation.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Kelly. And
I don't mean to interrupt, but I didn't have a chance to compliment Brandon though. But he did a nice job of tying in the recreational theme at the start of the program here. It could be a little awkward for some, but Brandon swung for the fences and just kind of knocked it out on that tie. So way to go, Brandon.
I'll take credit for the joke because I don't want to pin it on, but it was somebody else's idea.
Hey, worked nonetheless. So anyway, didn't mean to interrupt.
All right. Well, stick around, Kelly, and as we introduce Andy here, which I didn't make you give your background or your history.
Oh.
I'm actually dropping the ball today, Keith.
Oh, nice job,
So,
Brandon.
Sullivan, tell us a little bit about your ties to Geneseo. You worked as a police officer in other cities, and you came back to Geneseo here where you live. Tell us a little bit about your history.
I started in Kewanee, worked there for a year and a half, and then transferred to Rock Island, where I worked most of my career. And I came to Geneseo almost about 5.5 years ago. And I love it here. We moved here, I think 9 years ago, and this place has been fantastic for me and my family. Happy to be here and love to be able to serve my community.
Nice. And with that, we'll transition to Mr. Thurman. Morning. What's your ties to the community?
Yeah.
How long have you been with the Park District, and why are you in that role?
Sure. Thanks for having me this morning. So I grew up in Geneseo, and born and raised, and enjoyed a lot of the things that I get to work with now. So that was great, even though most of them have been updated, like the outdoor pool. And was gone for about 10 years, 15 years. I was up in the Chicagoland area, worked for Park District up there, and then for a village department. Same type of thing, though, just with programs and parks and aquatics and all of that, and had the opportunity now, it's been about 10 years to come back and work at the Park District in Geneseo, and I love it. I love the community. Part of the reason why we moved back is because having young kids and knowing that this is a place that we wanted to raise them. So it was great. And still have family here too. So, yeah.
And kind of, for those who may not know, I know when I first came to Geneseo, some cities or villages and communities, it's the city that takes care of, from a taxing standpoint and a recreation standpoint, that provides all the parks. In a previous episode here where we focused on the tax levy, we kind of broke down in a little bit of detail, what the city parks are. People know here Richmond Hill Park, City Park, but then the Park District has its own board and its own offerings and own recreational opportunities. So I don't know if you could maybe kind of explain the overall, just the mission and what you guys offer from the park board standpoint.
Sure. So, the Park District, as you said, the city owns Richmond Hill Park and the city park, and the Park District has Anderson Memorial Park, which is over on Main Street, and the athletic field space. Some people call it the old athletic field, so I don't want to confuse anybody. And then the aquatic center and the community center. And then we also have farm property north of town that was donated. That right now we have a cash lease with a farmer to use that. But, we hope someday that area could be developed into more of a regional park area. But that's what that is right now. We are our own entity. I have a board, a 5-member board, which is fantastic. We always have good discussions. We have a lot of stuff that's coming down the chute. When you have the community and everybody has different offerings, and what their interests are. It's always trying to find those niches. So, and we also run the Central Movie Theater. So that's one that we get a lot of questions on. And when people realize that we have the theater, it's, hey, I saw this movie, can you guys get it? I saw this one coming down the chute. Can you get it? And, Scott Himmelman does an amazing job of just trying to pick which one he thinks will do well here in the community and is doing well nationally. So we also try to run a lot of free programs there, too. So I was going to mention over the 2-week break for the kids, we have 4 movies on the Tuesdays and Thursdays over at the theater. So those are free to the community, which we love doing the free events just to kind of give back to.
Yeah. Nice. Well, let's jump into other Park District things you have coming up and other things you want to share with us.
Sure. So, as I said, the movies, those are great. And we actually have Hunger Games tonight, and then right before Christmas, Migration. So I know my kids have seen the trailer for Migration, and they said, we got to go to it. It looks great. So we have those. And the theater is back open 7 days a week. We have a kind of a lull in the fall where there's not a lot of movies coming out and people are involved in things, so we're shut down kind of during the week. But back at that, so other things that we have coming up that are free. So we still have our Santa mailbox at the community center. So get your kids to write a letter to Santa, drop it in that mailbox, and you'll get a letter back from Santa. Coming up in March, which I think is really unique, and we've just kind of put it out there, is we're going to do a sports equipment swap. So we're going to work with some of the local sports groups and then just individuals to come in and drop off equipment at the community center, and you'll get a voucher. And then at the old athletic field building, then you're going to be able to come in the first weekend in March and be able to swap out. Everybody's looking for that pair of baseball cleats because you wear it for one season, or baseball pants and, gloves and all of that stuff. So look for that. We have that in our activity guide, which I think is going to be a popular thing for a lot of people. Tomorrow night, actually, we have our free Christmas skate. So in the past, we have done that in kind of coordinating with Christmas Walk, but everybody's at the parade on Christmas Walk night, and that one was less attended. So we are moving that to tomorrow night. So that's free. If you have your own skates, you can bring those, but we do have a rental for skates, and that starts at 5:30. So Brandon, if you want to come over and do some twirls and all of that, we have adult sizes too.
Nice.
So,
Might happen.
Yeah. We always have fitness classes. We have a list of those on the website. And then we have a boot camp that is kind of finishing up in the next week, too, that you could sign up for the whole week. So look for that in the future as well. One thing that we are looking at right now is a master plan for the community center. So that building is just over 40 years old now. There's a lot of outdated areas in that space, a lot of unused spaces. So, 40 years ago when you're building a facility like that, you have these huge locker rooms and hundreds of lockers. And now you have 5 or 6 of them that are being used, on a regular basis. So, spaces like that, there's just a lot that we want to look at that building for changes. We have a theater program that's coming back. So in the past, we worked with a traveling theater company, and ever since COVID, they've really scaled back, and they don't have near the amount of organizations that they work with. So Tom Akers, who is actually the superintendent in Cambridge, he has run a program there for several years, and he's going to come out and he's going to run a theater program that he's written the scripts for and all of that. So I'm happy to bring back some of the arts programs that maybe we've lost in the last couple of years as well. And we work with Musical Memories and Smith Studio and Gallery for some of those as well, and those are all listed in there. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but one thing, I never think it's too early to talk about summer stuff, and something that park districts, parks and rec departments across the state have really struggled with over the past couple of years is just finding lifeguards. So we actually had a lifeguard that had been with us for several years. He passed away this past year, Steve Alexander. He was a huge influence on the kids there. And what his family did was they actually donated money, and what we're using that for is a scholarship program for to cover the cost of the lifeguarding class. So if you're out there and, one of the hindrances of becoming a lifeguard was paying for that $180 certification through StarGuard, who we use, that's going to be waived. So if that's something you're looking at doing this summer, it's a free class now, which is a tremendous asset to these kids too. None of them want to go into a job saying, okay, now you got to shell out money to then start to get paid. So I mean, that's amazing that they did that, and we're excited to have that program too.
Yeah, awesome.
So, yeah. So one other thing, we have our large project that is starting this year, which for some people it's large, others it's small, but is we're building a new maintenance garage in the back of our parking lot. We're working with the school district, so we've partnered with the building trades class, and they're going to be coming out this spring. I know they're working on another house in the community, but then they're going to come out and help us do that, which I think is a cool partnership. And kind of circling back to why both of us are here, Brandon, you've asked us to be here. It's just we work together in this community, and things like that. You reach out, and when you need help with something, people are willing to help and work together. And I think that's what makes Geneseo great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Anything else you'd like to share?
I wrote a lot of my notes on the back of my senior calendar, and so what we've done over the past few years too is really reach out to our senior population. The Henry County Geneseo Senior Center kind of dissolved about 5 or 6 years ago now, and we took over that space again and really have put a lot of senior programs out there free. So you're not a member of the Park District Community Center, you can still come to all of these, and we have bingo twice a month. We show a movie at the theater on the second Wednesday. We have exercise class on Thursday morning. We have coffee and donuts on Thursday morning. So just a lot going on. So you can either stop in, there's a calendar right there at the front desk, or go online and look at that too. So just serving some of that population that's maybe on a fixed income that now has access to exercise, movies, and a lot of socialization. And we work with the hospital to do lunches during the month too. So
Nice.
Well, just another example, though, as Andy said, of we have these organizations in town, and we have our different responsibilities and what have you. But and I would say that, and there really seems to be a re-emphasis on it here in the last several years, or what have you, about just interacting and working together, and just how it really just makes the whole community. It's kind of the secret sauce of the community of sorts.
Yeah.
But the Park District plays a big part in that. And, great asset to have.
yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah,
We've got a few minutes left here. A few things I want to mention, and then we'll see if Keith has any additional things to add. Want to say a big thank you to everybody who came out and participated in the Christmas walk. The chamber committee that put this on. I think, Andy, you're on that committee as well. Of course, Zach and Valerie at the Geneseo Chamber of Commerce. I think a big thank you also needs to go out to the Geneseo Police Department, and especially Gene Carson, the Deputy Chief of Police. That guy, you don't notice all of the detail when you're just at the event maybe, but the logistics and the safety aspect that has been put into place over the past few years out there is just, I think it's fair to say, there aren't small towns that are doing this kind of thing. We have these, what are they called, Pentagon barriers now, these professional barrier systems that can stop large vehicles when they come, and the officers in Henry County Auxiliary are, shuffling them in and out of the parade route and allowing vehicles through, but then blocking all of those ingress and egress areas throughout the night and the day, so that it's a safe event.
The other thing that they do is they'll make you a personal phone call if your car is parked in an area that maybe they're going to put a barricade to. So that's a nice thing that Gene will do as well if he knows what car it is.
Did you leave a vehicle out there at 3 a.m. or what?
There was something out there that was
Something was
downtown, somebody working.
Not sure in the details.
Yeah, right.
Maybe somebody was at GBC too late.
Nope. Nope.
But just big. Want to get the chance to really thank Gene and the police department for those efforts, because it's a lot of behind the scenes work that you don't see. Did want to mention the water project, which is the installation of a new water main in front of City Hall and down 2nd Street from State. That project did wrap up yesterday. A lot of people are excited about that. That was the replacement of a water main from 1904 that had a lot of issues and sprung some serious leaks,
Yeah.
let's say, in the past few years.
We got our money out of that one.
Yeah, useful life was completely gone. So that's good. That's wrapped up really before the snow starts flying here. So that's exciting. Do want to mention we had a public meeting on Tuesday night. The city's engineering firm IMEG introduced the North State Street project. For those who haven't heard about that, again, it's very infrastructure focused, water, sewer, and stormwater under North State Street. When we talk about North State, we talk about exchange really to Ogden, up here to the high school. The infrastructure under the roadway is over 100 years old in that area still. So we have a 3-phase project set up to redo, the emphasis is redoing all of that infrastructure underground. Unfortunately, the stuff you can't see. But it does mean that a new street will go in as well, new sidewalk, and new decorative lighting to match the downtown. The Geneseo Electric Department will extend those acorn lights all the way down State Street eventually. So the first phase of that project is from Park to Wells. That is scheduled to go out for bid letting in March, and then hopefully that project will start this summer. So will be some traffic situations in that area for a few months there, but it's unfortunately when you have infrastructure here that's well over 100 years old now, it's a thing that we're going to be dealing with every year. And the city council and staff are committed to tackling some of these projects that they ain't pretty and they're expensive, and it's easy to push them to the next year. But then unfortunately you deal with very expensive scenarios, Christmas Day breaks, got to call people out, overtime, contractors, it's just not good. So some of these things got to be dealt with. And then I wanted to mention the landing area down the intersection of State and Oakwood. People have seen kind of some changes down there. A nice new city sign that went in down by Pizza Hut there. Our goal before the ground freezes this year is to Springfield Armory has very generously donated a 3 flagpole system that will go behind what you see is that new city green sign down there, which matches the other ones on Route 6 and coming in north on the state route as well. Really nice new sign made by Jason Dahl at Underground Graphics, and Double S did the rock work around the sign. But that 3 flagpole system will look just awesome down there behind the sign. Geneseo Electric will light it all up with some nice lights, and goal is to have that done before it starts getting too cold here, and we can still get some groundwork in. But
Well, always a lot happening in our community, and some good updates there. And yeah, everyone will be happy to have Oakwood kind of back in operation, and the State Street project, well needed, and so it'll be kind of off and on here over the next few years. But when it's all finished up, it's a philosophy of just do it right once and be done with it, as opposed to